welcome to another edition of TrueTok with Uniquima. I am Uniquima Eshet. Of course, you know on TrueTok with Uniquima, we bring to you issues that affect us as humans in our daily lives. The issue of child kidnapping is one that in the past was something masterminded by people who are strangers to the family. But right now we have issues of nannies kidnapping the children. And here with us we have Dr. Joseph Shea, who's going to be discussing the matter with us. Let's welcome him. You're welcome, Doctor.
Yeah, thank you very much. Uniquima.
Thank you. It's nice to have you on the show.
Thank you very much.
And of course, wonderful people who have come out here to support us. Our special audience. A round of applause for them, please. So, Doctor, how has been your day today?
Oh, as usual, stressful but beautiful.
But you're able to get a little rest this morning, I guess.
Yeah, I get a lot of rest when I'm working.
All right. If I could remember back then when we were quite growing up, we had parents who sometimes probably had to leave their career. My mother, for one, had to retire early to take care of us children. She had to go into fashion designing, which made her closer to us, so that she was able to take care of us, see us coming back from school, and ensure that we were well taken care of back then. But now, these days, I think probably due to the tight economic issues, both parents have to work and they leave their children out there. What do you think about this?
Yeah, thank you very much for raising that issue, Uniquima. I think the issue itself is as unique as you are. Unique in the sense that it looks an innocuous, harmless issue, yet is at the center of the society, because from my experience around the world, the family is the nucleus, the smallest unit of society.
Okay.
And so if you build the family very well, then you are invariably building the society on a very healthy pedestal. Now, permit me to be a little holistic in my examination of this issue.
Okay.
Holistic in the sense that, you see, society is systemic. What that means is that what is like a human body, you cannot have an aching tooth and then the leg claims to be healthy. Neither can you talk of a healthy hand and then the leg or the back experiences health. So the problems that are affecting society today are connected. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
First, you rightly mentioned the problem of the economy.
Okay.
The economy itself is one central issue, but economic problems have always been with us. But at some point, when we had our well-known encounter with the West, the presence of the West and the present economic dispensation, which comes in with education, paid employment, and then the sharp division of society now into the upper, middle, lower classes. Of course, the middle class has almost disappeared, making the difference, the gap between the gulf between the upper class and the lower class being so wide. Now, this has implications for society in the case of the nanny.
Okay.
That nannies that are now, they are no longer, in most cases or in some cases, they are no longer the nannies of old that we used to know. This issue has several factors. One is at the center is the question of ostentation, the question of people trying to live above their income, so that when you have it at the center, the nanny comes in, the nanny herself, let me use herself,
Okay.
is often a victim of ostentation, desires, wishes that someday she too. Then
like
out
that.
somewhere on the street is maybe a politician, maybe some other person who is aspiring to also move to the upper class and uses a very unorthodox method instead of going through the pain of going through school or going through some employment, decides to reach for some ritual activity,
Okay.
and then connects the nanny, and the nanny, with her own ambition, with her own desire, asks a question: if these people pay me maybe 5,000, 10,000
And
a
somebody
month,
is offering
and
me.
someone brings in sometimes as low as
50,000
50,000,
naira.
100,000, the nanny's calculation is that there's not that attachment, not that feeling of humanity that
Humanity.
this child
This
is
is-
part of me.
yeah.
It's strictly commercial, it's strictly commerce, it's strictly money. And so the nanny feels money is the issue. Let me bring in the lines to from my mentor and teacher,
Okay.
Professor Neo Shundari. He says, money is our new God. We kill for it, we heal for it. So the nanny now feels, well, here is an opportunity to have money. So the nanny quickly does the opposite of what a nanny should do. Betrays the trust, sells the child for some money and vanishes. That's one dimension. We also have, we or some of the people who are in the position to keep nannies will ask questions. You see, I've always had this feeling, this philosophy, that when in abject poverty, don't accept a certain degree of indignity from the rich, because you don't know what God has in store for you. So if a rich man comes and defecates and tells you to eat, and you accept because you are helpless,
Because, yeah.
when tomorrow God's time comes and he uplifts you, and you see that yesterday Lord of yours whose defecation you ate, he will make fun of you even with your millions. So you must have it in mind that even though I'm very poor, there are certain things I won't accept, there are certain things I won't do.
Yes. Quickly before we go on a short break, I would like to chip in. So right now, seeing that at times it's based on the parents unavailable or being not available to be able to take care of their children, do you think we should actually revert to the old way of taking up of bringing up the children? Do you think some mothers should still have to give up their career, or some fathers should, I don't know, how do you think it's something we should look at?
Yeah, thank you very much. Unique question. I will rebel. I can be very rebellious.
Okay.
Yeah, because I am basically a teacher. I must finish the point I wanted to. Right?
Okay.
And that point is, I had given one side of it, and that one side is that there are certain things I wouldn't do. But if I were a rich man, I should also imagine myself being poor. And what that means is that I must provide for the possibility of the wealth vanishing and I becoming poor. So I must treat the poor in my environment with respect, knowing that they too can be anything, knowing that it is God that elevates. So, but some of our rich men, unfortunately, do not do that. They don't do that. So it's in their minds, they are conscious of the fact that this is a nanny. A nanny is something that is a little more sophisticated than the beasts in the wild, but then not quite human as I am or as my children. So that kind of display creates envy, and the envy leads to some kind of inhumanity on the part of the nanny, who now sees the family of the host family as they versus she in our own world. So that too can breed a certain kind of indifference, lack of love, even for the baby, innocent baby.
Yes.
That's one point. Your question now is, do we go back
to the way
it's not it? I am one of those who say that we must not throw away our past, but I'm also different in the sense that I insist that we cannot get our past in its whole form as it was. Neither should we even make ourselves to believe that that past was perfect. It was not. Just as what we got from the West is not perfect, what we also had from the past. Then besides, there are the new realities on ground. New realities, when you say, okay, let's go back. Mother, your duty is, see, like the poem written by my friend, Lola Shone, said, wife, this is the garden, this is the bed. Woman, that's your role. That's no longer realistic because the challenges facing the economy today, the society, the family today, require that both hands must clap. Both hands must come together for there to be a clap in the family.
All right, sir. We'll come back to you.
Yes.
Let's go on a short break. I'll be right back.
Yes.
Hello there. I am Uniquima, and I will be your host on an exciting and interesting program coming your way shortly called TrueTok with Uniquima. Now, TrueTok with Uniquima is a talk show that deals with life experiences and controversial issues from the human angle. So every week we have a guest on the show, we present the issues to you, and you're given a platform to express yourself and air your views. And trust me, you don't want to miss this. You're welcome back to TrueTok with Uniquima. And of course, we have Dr. Ushe in the studio. We've been talking about the issues of the nannies kidnapping children. And just before we leave, I'd like to ask one more question, sir. In the case where the parent has to hire a nanny, because of course, we like you mentioned, there's a place where both parents have to come together to bring about a clap, like you said, in the family. And so in the case where they have to hire a nanny, how do you think one can go about it? Take, for instance, I was aware of one going online to hire a nanny on some websites that we have recently. What do you think about that?
Well, in the first place, thank you very much. I wouldn't. People do all kinds of things. They marry from website, get girlfriends from website. In fact, there was one early in my interaction when I moved onto the internet. I read this story of two bizarre stories. One of someone who offered himself to be eaten by another. All the transaction was done online, and then eventually neighbors of the buyer found some foul odor coming out, and they alerted the police and discovered that the guy had human flesh in his freezer and was feeding. So when he was arrested, he produced the agreement they had entered. So then there was, of course, the other Cameroonian girl who went online with some other guy, and then eventually she ended up committing suicide because the guy finally published her nude pictures all over the world. So I am not one of those who support things done online, except you verify them. In the past, what used to happen was that, first, let me use one term. We talk of nannies, we talk of house help, but I think if you use nanny, fine. But the other term, which I'm aware of, is home help. In place of house help, I prefer home help. Home help appears more appropriate, more grammatical. But here we don't have a third option, which is au pair. Au pair, and au pair is someone who, for instance, we are in an English-speaking environment. You might have someone who wants to specialize in a video. The person doesn't have the money to pay for that education. So the person might move to live with an Ibibio-speaking family, render services to the family, and in return, learn Ibibio. So we call such a person an aupair, A-U-P-A-I-R-O. We have all these people. But if you are talking of the African, strictly African context, the idea of nanny existed. It's not so new. But in the past, it was usually a relative of the wife or of the husband that was engaged to carry out, the
House
job
chores.
yes, and in return, the people, the family saw that one as a part of them, treated him or her as they would treat their own children, and the person also had a strong sense of belonging, and they grew up. And let me tell you, you may laugh. I had babysat some of my older sisters' children. I babysat some. Some are big people now, and that bond has, in fact, so I have become closer to those families than my other siblings. They see me as if I were closer biologically, but I'm not. The only difference is that I was engaged as a child to babysit some of those children. So it was something that was so beautiful. Let me use the word nanny, saw himself or herself as a part of that family, and saw the child as his or her own child, and there was that love. And the parents also appreciated. They didn't draw a line to say this is this. But these days, that is not quite common. You know why? Because the economic arrangement, which we sometimes misunderstand, has brought with it certain implications. The haves always are suspicious of the have-not to be the sources of their own doing. So to go back and bring someone from an extended family is like you are bringing home a witch or a potential witch or wizard,
a monitoring spirit,
to your family. So people prefer bringing persons that they get through churches, through some other neutral grounds, believing that this will not have any direct links to carry out diabolical actions against my family. And in the process, they bring in people who don't have those filial connectivity to the family, that the blood relationship is not there. So for them, it's business, and even the selling of the baby is business.
All right.
Yes, so that is one way. So my suggestion would be that where we can help it, first, correct the imbalance in society. Realize that, we had a society that carried everyone along. And then, where you don't have any clear evidence that this person is about to destroy me, bring someone that is somewhat closely related to you. Being closely related does not always, not just blood. It could even be an old standing family friend that you've reached. Sometimes such friends are even more caring and more ready to sacrifice than some of your blood. So you must be sure of what family you are bringing a nanny from, and then not just to go as far as internet, to go as far as people, total strangers, to come in. So that would be my own way.
All right.
The average.
Thank you. I've heard that from Dr. O'Shea. He believes we are supposed to get people who are closer to us than getting strangers. Right about now, let's look at, during the week, we had a little game. We asked people for the dumbest question they've ever heard. And some people, I got some feedback from some people. And let's see what they had for us. Someone said, he asked me if I want money. And I said yes. And then he asked me, what do you want to use it for? And he says, that's a dumb question. I mean, who doesn't need money? Another person says, I went to see my uncle. And then he looked at me and said, is this you? I think I've been asked that question myself. Another person said he was receiving drip from the hospital bed. He was worn out and everything. And then somebody asked him, how are you feeling? And he asked, how is he supposed to be feeling when he's already sick? So we would let you know who the winner or who came up with the dumbest question before we go. But right about now, let's hear from the audience. Let's hear the questions, their contributions. Here, let's do that.
Thank you very much. My name is Fortune Luke. Okay, I have a question to ask. The question goes thus. Okay, in our society today, we have these demanding challenges of both parents having to work to take care of the child because of the school fees and the high rise, the things to be used in the house, the household stuffs, you know, and trying to measure up, because if you look at society today, it's more or less like a competition. Everyone wants to have a name. So you have a situation whereby both parents have to work to make a good living, you know, to send their children to good schools, provide the best opportunities for their children. So that way, both parents are busy, and yet they're giving birth. Now the nannies are kidnapping the children. The nannies are the witches. The nannies are maltreating the babies. The nannies are sleeping at duty. The nannies are not ready to work. Then the peeps that are supposed to be the nannies or the house helps, they're not going to school. Okay, our guest speaker talked about the family members coming to help, coming to assist. Now, if you look around, everyone wants to go to school. Everyone wants to make something out of his or her own life. I, for one, forgive me, I'm not being boastful. I won't really see myself now coming to babysit a baby. You understand? To come to babysit, you understand? Because I'll feel I should be busy with my life, I should be busy with one or two stuffs. You understand? Okay. Now, in a situation whereby we have the nannies going to school, the supposed nannies going to school, you know, getting busy with their lives, getting works to be done, working and stuff. So we have the parents working, we have the supposed nannies schooling, working, then we have the family members working, schooling, not even in town. So what happens to the babies? And then in our society, if we check around, we don't have the child care services, unlike the outside states, outside countries where you have, like my other brother, he doesn't have a nanny. He's married with 2 children, and while the babies were still young, like while the children were still babies, when he wants to go to work, when the wife wants to go to work, they take the children to child care services. And in our own part of the world, we don't have those services here present. So my question is, what will now happen to the children if you don't have the parents to take care of the children, you don't have the nannies around, you don't have the family members to stay and take care of the babies, and then we don't have child care services? What will happen to the babies?
All right. We had 3 entries for the dumbest question ever asked. One was from Peter, the other from Victoria, and the third from Chimanwoko. And the winner is Victoria. Okay, Victoria's dumbest question was her going to her uncle's place and the uncle asking, is this you? I think that's so weird. Alright, so we're going to get across to you, Victoria, right after the show. Now, let's hear from you, Dr. O'Shea, the answer to this question.
Yeah, thank you very much, Fortune.
Yes, sir.
We are glad that you've been fortunate enough not to be a nanny. I thought I was even fortunate, although I'm not really fortunate, to have been a nanny to my extended family member. But your question is very pertinent. But there are 2 things we must understand. We have the urban setting, and then we have the rural setting. The situation in the urban setting is the one that might fit your question, and that is a situation in which everybody goes to work and all that stuff. If in that situation, I don't know, but I know also of schools in urban setting, some urban settings that have morning, afternoon, evening session. So if such a situation, where such a situation exists, you arrange the nanny to have her own education, her own schooling, at the time that most other members of the family are back. So she goes. Even if it's an evening program, it's better. Now the question of if you bring in someone who has some relationship with you, either close, long-standing family friend, in many cases the person might be from a slightly lower family, where without the opportunity of having some form of education, might not just have any opportunity at all. So for such a person, the opportunity of even having afternoon school to attend will give the person some chance of moving up. And in some cases, such persons turn out to be very successful,
Yeah.
and they tell their stories.
Sure.
The rural setting is completely, is quite different. If we have the kind of rural setting I have, then the problem is less. You have grandparents living together, and then sometimes in my own place, when women go to work, sometimes they work in groups. The weak, the old, and the sickly take care of the children while the strong mothers work. At the end of the day, the mothers take their children and bring them home, so you won't notice anything. The nanny is now the member, the ailing member, the old woman who's frail. She becomes a nanny for that day, and it continues.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. And that's where we wrap it up on today's show. Thank you, Dr. Oshe, for being with us.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
All right, that's where we bring it to an end on today's show. We hope to see you next week on our next edition. Till I come your way again next time, I remain Uniquima Eshet. Don't forget to like our Facebook page, 247 Nigeria TV, and of course, TrueTok with Uniquima on 247 Nigeria TV. And also, download our app on your Android device by searching for 247 Nigeria TV on your Play Store. Till I come your way again next week. Be safe. Bye.